And for your last task, I need you to get me a copy of both new Avatar movies that have yet to come out, and I need them bootlegged on my desk by 5 o'clock today.
The Avatar movies? Like the Avatar, the ones they haven't even shot or released yet?
Yes. I need you to get those to me.
Listen, lady, I don't know. I didn't go to Hogwarts or anything. I'm not going to be able to do that. They're not even shot yet.
Then don't bother coming back.
Okay, well, I won't. What is your deal? Like, you're an Instagram influencer with like 600 followers or something, and you're telling me to go like knock on Jim Cameron's door to get Avatar movies?
I am a very important influencer, I'll have you know, and I don't need to explain myself to you. I just need you to do the things that I asked you to.
Okay, well, then I quit because you haven't paid me in a month.
Whoa. You can't quit. I wasn't expecting you to say you would quit. Like, you quit so quickly.
Yeah, well, I don't get paid. You're asking me to, like, weave magic spells. Like, I'm not going to be able to do all this.
Well,
what were you thinking?
I watched The Devil Wears Prada, and I thought I would take a note from the main character's book and try to give you some impossible tasks to do to kind of motivate you.
Well, I don't know who the devil is and what they're wearing, but I don't know what that is. Devil Wears Prada? What is that?
It's a movie. It has Meryl Streep in it, and she plays this fantastic fashion editor, and she's the chief of this fantastic magazine.
I don't know what that is.
You haven't seen it?
You haven't seen it.
No way. You're out of order.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fasten your seatbelts.
You're tearing me apart.
Houston, we have a problem.
What we've got here is failure.
Conceivable. God damn you all to hell.
Hello and welcome to You Haven't Seen It? The podcast where I force my husband to watch a movie he's never cared to see. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm the husband who gets slapped around like a bargain bin assistant, Joey.
Aw, poor baby. Well, I hope you don't feel like that.
No, it's just an intro.
Yes. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about The Devil Wears Prada.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do, Joey, how are you doing? What have you been up to?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, well, you may have noticed that we missed last week because we're getting back to our bi-weekly schedule. So I started working again, unfortunately.
Yeah, once the school year starts, we have a lot less time because Erin has to work, obviously. And then when she's at work, I have to take care of our daughter more. So both of our lives just have a lot more things going on.
Our schedules get really, really hectic. And so we're going to go back to bi-weekly. We kind of even thought about like, oh, do you think we'll be able to do every single week? And then this past week happened and we were like, absolutely not.
No, it's not going to happen. We just kept putting this record off and putting it off and putting it off. And then finally we're like, we have to do it. Yeah. So we're going back to bi-weekly. But also next month in September, we're going to be doing...
September.
No, we're going to be doing a theme month of Quentin Tarantino movies, and it's called Septentin Tarantember.
Quentin Tarantember. Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, it's Septentin Tarantember.
Septentin Tarantember.
Quentin
Tarantember?
Septentin.
Tentin.
The Sep is for Quinn. You substitute Sep for Quinn, and then in the other one, Eno Ember. What? I challenge all of you at home to say this.
Septentin Tarantember.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a couple of Quentin Tarantino movies for the month of September. We're not going to announce which ones yet, but they will be Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yes.
And also, we want to say, like, probably nobody even noticed, but last episode, we were talking about Barbie, and we said we liked Lizzo, that we're fans of Lizzo.
And then our episode came, that episode, when it, literally the day after it dropped, because we recorded it that weekend, and then it dropped. And then a bunch of crazy stuff came out about Lizzo.
Yeah, that she is essentially a nightmare boss, and she sexually assaulted her dancers and
other employees of her. So
yeah,
we are not supporters of that.
No.
This all is still like in the legal system. She's come out with like videos of like apologies, but like some of them don't even seem sincere.
Yeah, they seem more self-incriminating than they do anything else.
So
here at You Haven't Seen It, we believe victims when they come forward, and we don't like shit. I don't care how we've talked about it before, but we don't care how
fantastic of an artist you are. If you're a shitty person, we don't like you.
No, get out of here. No. So I have a feeling all of it's going to get swept under the rug, which sucks.
Yeah.
But at least she got outed somewhat.
Yeah, and maybe if it maybe it would stop it from happening. And if it doesn't, which probably won't happen, then there's previous experience of how do you call it? Evidence?
What?
I don't know. Previous incriminating evidence. I don't know.
Okay.
Anywho. Also, sad thing, but I mean, not like crazy sad, but sad. Pee Wee Herman died.
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman died.
The actor that played Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah. His real name is...
His character will live on forever.
Paul Rubens. But before we get into that, I want to say something else about Lizzo.
Oh, okay.
She claims Houston. She wasn't born here, but she lived here and went to college here.
And high school.
Yeah. But as a born and raised Houstonian, I say you can't claim Houston anymore. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You and Travis Scott, you can get out of here with claiming Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's for Beyonce.
Oh, yeah, who also sounds like a nightmare person. But anyway, Paul Rubens. Paul Rubens died. He was fighting a personal, like a battle with cancer.
Yeah.
He didn't tell anybody, but he left a nice note telling everybody about it. And I want to ask you, like, what is your connection with Paul Rubens?
Well, all I really know him from was Pee Wee Herman, which I loved Pee Wee Herman when I was younger. And there was like this like thing that came out about him. When I was younger, when it came out, like that he had done some not so great stuff at a movie theater.
No, he was masturbating at a porn theater.
Oh.
It's not like he was.
I thought it was at a
thing.
regular theater,
No,
and I was like, "That's nasty." But if it's not a porn theater,
yeah, and
but like, is that like illegal to do that at a porn theater?
Yeah, because it's technically indecent exposure.
But why would they have porn theaters?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a way to get trapped.
Yeah, I think his career got kind of unfairly ruined for a while. And he couldn't do Pee Wee Herman because it was a kid's thing.
Yeah.
Right? So he couldn't do Pee Wee Herman for a while, but he did eventually bounce back.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I remember when he did bounce back, he did Pee Wee Herman on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And I watched that special on HBO and I fucking loved it. It was so funny. The songs were cute and wonderful and like perfect for Pee Wee Herman. And Cherry. And all the characters were there. It was fantastic. So I wasn't like a huge Pee Wee Herman fan, but like his movie, like Pee Wee Herman, Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure.
Yeah, Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
I liked that movie a lot when I was younger. So
yeah,
It was whenever I heard about it, it was like, oh, I wasn't like crying, but like it was sad.
I mean, it's like upsetting when anybody dies of cancer, but for me, like I grew up watching Pee-wee's Playhouse, and I didn't for a long time know that Pee-wee's Playhouse was based on a show that he did where it was an adult themed kid show. And he would tell raunchy jokes. And Phil Hartman was a part of it, too. Phil Hartman played Captain Carl. But my sister and I, when we were maybe like 13, 14, saw one of his old live shows when they were doing like dirty jokes. And we were so confused.
Oh.
Because we knew him as a child entertainer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, he's always been into like raunchy stuff.
Yeah.
But he got the opportunity to do that kid show. And then I also think it's crazy that you would say to people like, oh, Paul Rubens, and they'd be like, who? And they'd be like, Pee Wee Herman, and they go, oh,
yeah, everyone knew him as Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, it's so crazy that character is so iconic. People know that before they know the actual actor.
Yeah,
But I just want to
talk
talk
like Han
about
Solo. I didn't know his name for the longest time.
Imagine if Han Solo had like a kids TV show, Broadway,
yeah.
his own movies, Han Solo's Big Adventure.
Aww. But yeah.
Yep.
So today we're talking about Devil Wears Prada. Joey, what is your experience with this movie?
I remember when it came out because it was kind of a big deal. Like anytime Meryl Streep's in a movie, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody was saying it was good. It won an Academy Award. And I think I was searching my memory, and I think when Netflix streaming was brand new back in 2008, I think it was one of the first movies that was on it. And I had Netflix streaming literally from day one. I already had a Netflix account, and I think I started watching it on that, but I didn't finish it. I must have fallen asleep or something. Or the early streaming app stopped working because it didn't work. Like the first few months, it did not work very well.
Oh, okay. So Devil Wears Prada came out in 2006. The director was David Frankel. Frankel. And which I don't really know anything about him.
I don't know him either.
But the movie stars Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway, and this movie came out in 2006, which was a pretty big year because I was in middle school.
Okay.
So I wasn't too young to like not understand like some aspects of the movie, but there were some things that kind of went over my head at the time, but I grew up watching it. So I was watching this movie, I mean, I would say every couple of years, possibly. It was a very big movie, and a lot of my friends really liked the movie. I even have friends today that still talk about this movie.
I mean, I can see why. It was really good.
Yeah. It's got the characters in it have such strong presences that like even in acting, we bring up being like, oh, well, we need you to be a Miranda Priestley in this scene. And like our kids don't really understand that. And we say Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada. And they're like, oh, okay. Everyone knows the character that she brings to this. Meryl Streep does a fantastic job in this movie. I
mean, she's always good. I mean, she's Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
If she was British, she'd be knighted by now.
Yeah.
But Meryl Streep was really a great casting for this. She doesn't really have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting in this movie.
Oh, absolutely not.
But it's really, I thought the casting was really good because she is such a respected actor, even though she's a nice person in real life, that when people are all like running around and freaking out around her, you're like, yeah, that's fucking Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
She's one of the most respected actors that there ever was.
Yeah. Something else that, this is really the first time I recognized Meryl Streep. and when I could understand what her, like who she was as her name. And the same for Anne Hathaway. Like these were I knew Anne Hathaway from some other movies like Ella Enchanted and some other Princess Diaries.
One of our birds is going crazy.
Sorry. Princess Diaries was the first thing I saw Anne Hathaway in, and that I can remember her ever being in. But her being with Meryl Streep, this really cemented Meryl Streep in my brain because I'd seen her in Death Becomes Her, but I didn't register that was Meryl Streep. And then later on in life, I watched that movie again and I was like, oh my God, that's why I like this movie so much. It's because it has fucking Meryl Streep in it.
What was it?
Death Becomes Her.
Oh man,
it's such a fantastic movie. Have you seen it?
I saw it in the theater with my parents.
Oh, I loved that movie.
I've never liked it.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not a very good movie.
I
know it has a cult following, but I've never been able to get into it.
Yeah. So with the movie, like I really like registered that was Meryl Streep, and ever since I saw this movie. And every time I see something if I see something that has Meryl Streep, I want to see it.
Yeah.
That's just a given. Even if it's like a musical, like I usually don't like to watch musicals made into movies because they cut a lot of the good songs and they change a lot of stuff. But even if like I've seen her in Mamma Mia and I saw her in, what was the other one?
The River Wild with Kevin Bacon.
I don't know that one.
And the kid from Hook.
I don't know that one. That's a musical?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's what I said. A musical.
Oh.
But Into the Woods. She was in Into the Woods. I'm not a big. I didn't really like Into the Woods. You can ask me about it later, but.
No, we're not going to talk about that.
I'm saying other people can ask me about it later if you want to, but. It cemented Meryl Streep in my brain. And then I just started researching her. She's a fantastic person. She was turned down a lot when she was younger because of the way she looked, even though she's gorgeous. And she was told that she's never going to really, she's too ugly to perform.
Oh, yeah. Everybody gets told that.
Yeah.
Like Barbra Streisand has stories about that too.
But hearing that, especially because it was in my formative years. I was middle school and going into high school because I was watching those movies when I was in high school and seeing her and being like, she's not like the picturesque model, but she's not ugly. But
no, she's very beautiful.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. But saying like she was turned down and she made this fantastic career, I could do that. Or someone else that thinks that they are ugly could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to get in front of the right people and
you gotta
do your best.
You got to have weird looking actors. You got to have ugly looking actors. It takes all types.
Yeah.
I think it kind of pisses me off that I feel like modern movies, like they have way too many pretty people in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
But Meryl Streep is the most nominated performer in the history of the Academy Awards.
Oh, wow.
She's been nominated more times than anybody else, which really says something. And I'm trying to see how many she's won. 3?
She's won 3.
Okay. I'm not super familiar with her career, but I do like her and everything. I remember going to see The River Wild when I was a kid, and she was in that. She was really good in it. And it had the kid from Hook, and then the dad was in something else, but I can't remember. I don't know
it.
And Anne Hathaway, I've been a fan of hers. Like you mentioned, like she did Ella Enchanted. When I first became aware of her, she was doing princess movies, and I was like, why does this person only do princess movies?
Yeah.
But then when she broke out of that, I was like, God damn, Anne Hathaway is good.
She is, yeah.
And she's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I am totally in love with her. Sorry.
That's okay. I love Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I know.
I get it, Joey.
She might be my Hugh Jackman.
Aww. Yeah, but I love Anne Hathaway too. She was she was one of my role models growing up because I saw her in Princess Diaries. I saw her performing in a lot of movies when I was growing up. And so I've always, I have a really hard time remembering actors' names. I've always known Anne Hathaway. Since I saw her in Princess Diaries, I've known her name.
I think you were a good age to like grow up with her movies.
Yeah, 2001. I was in like older elementary school.
Mhm.
And then I went into middle school growing up with her all the way through high school. So I've grown up with her.
Yeah. Cause I only knew about her princess movies because I was working at Blockbuster when they were coming out and like little kids would rent them. But yeah, she's good. She's been in a bunch of really great stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you want to get into the movie?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's try to talk about this movie we watched over a week ago.
Oh my God, yeah. So it starts out with Andrea. She the montage at the beginning is a bunch of women getting ready to go to work, and Andrea's getting ready to go for a job interview, whereas all of these other women are getting dressed and they're putting on lingerie underneath their regular or their office work clothes, but they're all very high fashion clothes. They're wearing high fashion shoes and designer.
Yeah, it's to juxtapose Andy, who is she's aspiring to be a journalist, so she's not really concerned about her outward appearance, and just kind of dresses in normal clothes and doesn't really do her hair at all.
Yeah. So then it shows a credit that this is actually based off of a book, which I knew that before, but it's based off.
It's called the Bible because it has the devil in it.
No, it's not.
When was the devil in this movie? I kept waiting for a devil to show up.
Meryl Streep is the devil in
Is
Prada.
it a metaphor?
It is.
Well, it's a metaphor.
So Andy's going to this publishing. She wants to be a publisher. Oh my God.
A journalist. She wants to be a journalist.
Oh, she's going to a publishing company for a job interview. So she goes upstairs she goes into this building, and a bunch of people are dressed like just regular business attire.
Yeah, she thinks she's just going to a job interview for an assistant, like a basic job interview where you get coffees or make phone calls for somebody.
And then she goes upstairs, and it's this high fashion place, and everyone's staring at her like, what the hell is she wearing? And she
meets Emily, who is played by Emily Blunt. That's the same name as her character. And
I didn't realize that was Emily Blunt.
Yeah, it was. And then she's like, oh my God, who are you? Why do you look like that? She's giving her a hard time, and she's like, I'm here for the interview. And
she's like, oh, well, I'm going to interview you. And then Miranda Priestley comes in, which is played by Meryl Streep. She comes in and she goes, who is this girl?
Well, no, she has a really great entrance because everybody starts, before she's even there, everybody's like, she's going to be here in like 2 minutes. So everybody starts rushing around. Her
appointment was canceled. She's going to be in early. We got to get ready.
Yeah.
And so they're scrambling to get everything
before
ready.
Meryl Streep even shows up, who is already one of the most respected people in Hollywood, people are starting to freak out just because she's going to be at her normal office. So it immediately, says like what this character is about.
And how high of her status is.
Extremely high status. Yeah.
So she tells Andy, just like sit off to the side. Don't say a word. Just be invisible. And Miranda Priestley comes in, and she's like, the way she comes off is, perfect for this character. But she rattles off things just willy-nilly. And
it gives you anxiety every time she does.
Yes.
Because nobody's writing anything down, and you're like, how are you going to remember?
I know. I'm just like, wait, I don't understand anything she just said. Which is a fantastic, they did that really well. Throughout the whole entire movie, that's a trope of hers.
Yeah, something about this movie is it's a very dialogue heavy movie, but they don't slap you in the face with the dialogue. People talk and you get the idea like in a roundabout way. They don't say like, oh, she's really difficult and she makes you do hundreds of tasks at one time. They show you her giving somebody the tasks, and then you get anxiety from watching it happen.
Yeah.
Where like a poorly written script would just, the people would be standing around me like, she's so mean to me.
Yeah. She tells us too much to do. I can't write all this down. It's too fast.
Yeah. But I'm going to bring that up a lot in this movie because I was hanging on every word of dialogue because it was showing and not telling.
Yeah. There were several times where I tried to talk to you about some other stuff and you're like, I need to listen.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, good. Which is funny for Joey because sometimes like when he watches movies he's not super interested in, he looks at his phone and
yeah, everybody does that.
I know. I'm just saying. But like, I didn't notice you really do that at all.
No, like I said, it's a really engaging movie. The dialogue is important, but it's show and not tell. You know, some people might, well, how do you show dialogue? Watch this movie. They're showing dialogue.
Yeah. So Meryl Streep's character walks in and she sees her. And as she's rambling these things on, she goes, and who is she? And she goes, oh, don't worry about her. She's someone who came in for an interview, but I'm going to grab her resume and that's it. And she goes, bring her in. And Emily, who is usually interviews the people and then they hire the people that are going to become the assistant. She is like, okay. And so she sends in Andy. And when Andy goes in, you can tell like she's a fish out of water. She comes in trying to be like, oh, this is my interview.
And she's not taking it seriously either.
No, because she thinks it's all kind of silly.
Yeah.
But they kind of get to the point of this probably isn't going to be the best place for you. But then Andy comes in and says, I'm a really hard worker and I'll learn anything. And so there's so much that happens in this movie.
She sort of dresses her down, but I don't remember what she says either.
But it's to the point of this isn't going to work. But then something happens to change her mind. Oh, I think Anne kind of like stands up for herself. She's like, you're looking down on me. And like, I don't need that. Like, and then we learn later that a lot of the girls that Emily had been hiring were kind of stupid.
Right.
That's mean, but that's what they said. They wanted the job so badly, but they wanted more of the status than to work hard.
Yeah, I think there's something that she identified that she liked in Anne Hathaway that she could develop. And I think it was that she sees herself in Anne Hathaway, maybe just a little piece of it. And there's something they keep saying in the movie is like, there's a million girls who would want to be.
Yeah, that's over and over.
Yeah, they hit you over the head with that multiple times. Like, people want this, but you're acting like you don't want it. And that's why it's so hard on you. Mm-hmm. But then she leaves the office. Yeah,
well, because Gucci interrupts. Like, people come in and they're like, oh my gosh, well, what do you think about we have this thing we need to do. And then they bring clothes in or something, and they like interrupt.
Happened.
They interrupt the.
But did they tell her that she got it after she went home? I don't remember.
I think at the end she goes, "I'll see you tomorrow" or something like that. Like, come in tomorrow, and I cannot remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
Watch it. And there's a lot that goes on in this movie. The main point is that this is a fish out of water, and she's got to really fight for this.
Yeah, there's I think multiple themes in this movie, but fish out of water is kind of one of them. Even though that's kind of kind of a comedy term, but that makes sense. And then after this, you get to meet her friends. So she's got a boyfriend who is the guy from Entourage. Then another friend who is, and I can't remember her name, but I like her. She was in Death Proof, which is a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Okay.
And then that other guy, I don't know who he is, but they're a very tight knit friend group. You can tell her and her boyfriend love each other, and they're very supportive of one another. And she's like complaining about these snooty people. So we get to see what they're doing is they're showing us her friend group in the first act. Then they'll show her friend group again in the second act. Yeah. So you can see how she's changing
throughout the movie.
How she's becoming more like the fashion people and less like her friend group that she started with.
Yeah. So also when she's talking to them, I think this is when they actually tell her that she gets the job, because I think she gets a call.
Oh. You know what I like about this movie? Flip phones. This was this came out like a year before the iPhone.
Oh yeah, there are some flip phones in this movie.
Yeah. And they're like high-end flip phones, but now they just look like toys.
So she gets this job, and she's talking to them also about like the people that she has to work with. And she's even talking to her boyfriend, calls them the clackers.
Really?
And is describing like how horrible they are to her. And she's like, I just got to get through like a couple months and then I can work at another place.
Right. Yeah. She just needs this job to, pay her bills, and then she can move on to something else, being a journalist.
Mm-hmm. But she goes into work.
And her first job is to get coffee.
Yeah. And she has to pick up scarves.
Scarves?
Yeah.
For a photo shoot thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the first day she goes, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to dress comfortable enough to move around the city and do what I need to do. So she's wearing these they are ugly shoes.
Yeah. And just like a really basic knit sweater.
Yeah. They look like clogs or something. And so she's walking around the city, and, she goes up to work. She brings the stuff. She kind of just doesn't do things perfectly at first. But she does them
she gets it
well
done.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. She gets it done, just not all the way other people would do things.
Right. And then they're in there having a meeting, and she's supposed to be taking notes, but then she laughs because she sees two belts that are the same color. So I can relate to this because they're like, no, this one's teal and this one is...
They're so different. That's what they say.
Yeah, they're like, those are different.
Every time I saw this
part,
when I saw this part, it's not even green. There's this like phone game people play, and it's like slight difference in colors. And I wonder if you don't see as many colors as other people, because like there's a spectrum of what people can see.
Yeah.
Of color. And maybe you just don't see as many colors as other people.
No, I see just as many colors as everybody else.
I doubt it. But
just because I don't know the names of the slightly different shades doesn't mean I can't see it.
No, well,
but the belts, they were different colors. But I'm saying Anne Hathaway is like, those belts are green.
Oh, did she say they were green?
No, I don't remember exactly what the thing was.
They were blue.
She's like, those belts are the same. And they're like, no, they're not. One is this color. It like when we were watching Steel Magnolias, and she's like, blush and bashful are the same color.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then Meryl Streep dresses her down, and it is like that sweater that you're wearing started out as like high fashion or something like that. And then she basically says like, I'm the editor of this magazine, and this magazine's so powerful that
it's even influenced people that aren't influenced, quote unquote, by fashion are still influenced by fashion.
Yeah, it's kind of like how you could say that Mozart technically influenced like Slayer.
Okay.
Because he's just like, Mozart was just this music that's been known the world over. Mm-hmm. And when you're learning about music, you learn about that.
Yeah.
Is that a good comparison?
I don't
know. Well, I said it, and I can't take it back now. And then they show her in the cafeteria, and she's with Stanley Tucci, whose name is Nigel, I believe. But I'm a big fan of Stanley Tucci. Mm-hmm. Like, he's always really good in anything he is. And whenever he pops up, I go, the Tooch is loose.
Yeah. Well, something that happens right before this is he comes up to her desk, and because he sees what she's wearing, and he puts a pair of like high heel shoes on her desk.
Right, yeah.
And she's like, I'm not going to need these. So she puts them off to the side. Then she goes in. This whole incident happens. After she puts her in her place, she looks down at her shoes and she goes, that'll be all. And then she runs to her desk and puts those high heel shoes on. Oh. So this is like a pivotal moment of her being like, okay, I do need to like present myself in a better way.
Right.
This is a fashion magazine. No matter what I say or what I feel, I have to present myself for my business.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's doing it to keep her job. She's still not trying to be a fashion person.
Yeah.
She's still just trying to be an assistant, and she just doesn't want to get fired. So she's like, fine, I'll wear the heels. I
don't think it's like that. I see it more as maybe it is, but I see it more as I'm realizing I need to look a certain way to be at this place. And whether I keep my job or not, that's not her plan anyways. So she just needs to get through a certain amount of time. So putting on this show so that she doesn't want to deal with the horrible negativity of looking the way she does. So putting this on so that she can kind of chameleon. Is that
a chameleon?
Through. Yeah.
She's trying to chameleon. She's not trying to be it though.
Yeah.
Right. But then she goes home after her first day, and she talks to her boyfriend, and she talks shit about the people. What does she call them again? Clackers.
She also says I'm not skinny, and I was like, to who?
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway has never been fat.
Well, this is another thing that like, she's like, I'm a size 6. And to me, I'm like, yeah, that's thin.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but that's not good enough.
Yeah. Which kind of is in the fashion industry. It's very true. But for her to say like, I'm not thin, it's like, no, I am thin, just not in their standards.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the brainwashing element of this. It's smart because, again, it's showing and not telling. Yeah. You internalize it. You're not realizing as it's happening. But this is part of the way that they're sort of brainwashing her or grooming her or whatever you want to call it. But then her boyfriend's like, I'll make you a grilled cheese. And you're like, oh, how sweet. I wish somebody would make me grilled cheeses when I had a bad day.
Okay.
Right, Aaron?
Okay.
I don't ever have bad days at work, so who cares?
So no grilled cheeses for you. She goes back into work, and some other stuff. It's a work, go home, work, go home, work, go home. And each time you do that, because it's multiple days it's happening over these, she's trying to grow Meryl Streep's trust.
Did they talk about the book already?
Yeah, they already talked about the book. There's so many things that happen in this movie. Like, it's so engaging. It's so hard to talk about.
No, I don't think so.
Like,
I mean, we don't have to do this in order. I don't care about that. But they set up that there's this book of different articles and shots or whatever that are eventually going to be the magazine that they release that month.
And
it gets delivered to Meryl Streep's house, and she doesn't just trust anybody to do it.
Yeah. So usually the second assistant does that. But until she can get her trust, she can't do that. So, also to keep her job, she needs to build her trust, like build Meryl Streep's trust. And so something happens, and she comes in another day and she's dressed terribly, and they say something. They're making fun of her, and so she goes up to that guy,
Nigel, Tucci.
and Meryl Streep says something really mean to her, and she's at lunch, trying to get some food with him, and
corn chowder.
Yeah. And she's like, I need help. I don't know what happens, but she goes up to him and says, I need help. And he's like, okay, well, I don't want to do this, but let's go in the closet. Nothing's going to fit you.
Yeah. Well, they have a meeting. Like, I don't know what the different magazine room. I feel like he's looking at pictures in some room or something, like freshly developed pictures or something. And he's like, this magazine is really important. You know, and this is another great moment of dialogue and showing and not telling is he's like, maybe a little boy saw this magazine and had it hidden under his mattress. And he told his parents he was going to soccer practice, but he was secretly going to sewing lessons.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, wait, that was Stanley Tucci. And it's like, okay, now we're developing his character, and we're also telling Anne Hathaway, like, hey, look, this is important to some people.
Yeah.
It might not be important to you.
Yeah.
And he says again, there's a million girls who would love to be in your shoes, and you're just not trying.
Yeah.
He's like,
you're not trying enough.
You need to put real effort forward.
And she keeps saying, like, I am trying. I'm trying. And he's like, but you're not.
Yeah.
Because look at you. You're not putting any effort in. And so she goes, okay, well, so he takes her to the closet and he gives her some clothes to wear. I love the montage scene of her going through the city. It's like things pass by her and her outfit changes and her hair changes, and like she's just changing throughout this whole time of just different outfits. And I think it's a fantastic like show of like, because increasingly it gets more high fashion as it goes.
Yeah, it's your typical movie montage. It's effective. And we also meet her dad. She goes to have dinner with her dad, and her dad seems like a very supportive person.
Yeah, but before this is she after like she goes through New York and she's starting to look more like she's starting to look more like these high fashion people. She goes and meets up with her friends again. And so you kind of see like the friends in the beginning, the friends in the middle, and the friends at the end. And she's giving them like, oh, I got Clinique and I got this purse. Do you want to have this purse? Miranda didn't want it. And so she gave it to me, but I'm going to give it to you. And like everyone's super loving the gifts, but her boyfriend seems like, I don't like this. He seems very turned off by it, and he's like, this isn't who you are, because he knows her really well.
Yeah.
Nate is her boyfriend's character
name.
name.
And he's a very good boyfriend. He's supportive, but he feels like she's
losing herself.
Yeah, and slipping away from him. Mm-hmm. And there is one moment where he's like really getting upset with her, and he's like, look, I get it. I'm a chef. I reduce sauces for a living. I'm not curing cancer or anything. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really a good development of his character. It's like, no, this guy is down to earth, even though he's like a chef in New York or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's not. He doesn't think that he's special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but she gets a call during this dinner with her friends, and
the same thing happens with her dad. Remember? Like she gets a call.
Well, hold on. I'm about to say something. So she gets a call and her friends take her phone away from her and they start throwing it to each other. And Anne Hathaway Andy gets really upset because like if she doesn't answer her boss's calls, it's going to be her ass, which you can tell that Andy kind of likes the job now. Like she's starting to really like it. She gets to work with like really, her boss is kind of mean and not the greatest person of what you've seen, but you can tell that like she likes working with these high-end people. She likes
she's starting to like it. She's starting to get wrapped up in it because these people, like, that's all they care about.
Yeah.
And they set that up in the movie. Like, Meryl Streep has a terrible relationship with her husband. Yeah. And they fight a lot. And she only refers to her girls as the twins. Yeah. But, and that's why they keep flashing to Anne Hathaway's friends and boyfriend and father to be like, well, she does have a good relationship with these people, but she's screwing it up. Like, she's having dinner with her dad and she gets a phone call saying like, I want to, this is so crazy. Meryl Streep's character is like, I'm in Florida and I need to leave, but there's a storm. Yeah. Get me a flight. It's like, you can't fly out of a place where there's a giant storm happening.
Yeah. No matter where you are, you cannot do that.
But Anne Hathaway, a normal person would just be like, well, that's not my problem. I'm trying to have dinner with my dad. Anne Hathaway you see that she's starting to get wrapped up in it because she's like, I have to call everybody I know or maybe drive there myself and pick her up.
Yeah. So she's trying to figure out what to do. She does not drive. I don't think that passes through her brain. But, no. Like she's calling so many places like, oh, can you get me a private jet? Like, what do I have to do? Like, what do we need to do? And they're like, we're not flying anyone out. No one can leave. There's a hurricane. It's not even just like a storm. It's a hurricane. But my note was her friends are super duper supportive and loving it when she's giving them prizes and gifts and things like that. But as soon as she actually needs to work, they're not supportive at all, which I get. Like, she's getting a little, she got too wrapped up, and in the end, she does get too wrapped up into it. But her friends,
they definitely I think they disrespected her in that moment for sure.
Didn't think about her career or what she wanted to do. Like, it was, I took offense to them doing that to her. Like,
I took offense for her.
Yes. I was very offended by them.
Yeah. And also with her dad, we find out that she got accepted to Stanford Law, which is a pretty big deal.
But didn't go
because she wants to follow her dream of being a journalist.
A writer, yeah.
So they just keep, you got to say things in a movie 3 times so that all the mouth breathers and the knuckle draggers are caught up. Mm-hmm. So we gotta mention multiple times that journalism is her dream, right?
Yeah. So she goes back to work the next day it's probably not even the next day. She goes to work later, and in the next scene, and Meryl Streep's sitting in her office, and she goes, my daughters did a recital and I wasn't able to see it. I've heard it was fantastic because I was stuck in Florida because you couldn't get me a flight. And so you think, oh, she's going to get fired, even though that is an unreasonable thing. But she doesn't. Instead, is that when she gives her the other task? No, that's later.
No, that's this is, actually, we said the part with Nigel, but that's next. Then she gets the makeover, and then she goes to meet her boyfriend, and he's like, wait a minute, who are you?
Oh, yeah.
Right? But they're still in love at this point. And I have a date rape drug in here. Was there a date rape drug thing that I missed?
Oh, there was something about someone says like the name for a drug. No. It starts with P.
I don't know.
What's the name of a date rape drug? What is the one that Bill Cosby used?
Quaaludes or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what someone said.
Oh, boy.
Maybe. But she meets... she goes to this thing where she meets this really handsome designer.
No, he's a journalist.
Well, she
Or
meets
writer.
a handsome designer, and then she meets the journalist.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the designer is way more handsome than the journalist.
Okay.
So like, because initially she meets him, and you're like, oh, she's gonna leave her boyfriend for him.
No, there was no way in this movie I thought that she was going to leave her boyfriend.
I think, yeah, well,
Led astray, maybe. But
yeah,
no.
that's what I mean.
But I don't remember that part. I do remember she meets that fashion writer, and
Christian Thompson.
Yeah, he's interested in her, and he wants to read her packet, and but she seems preoccupied with doing Miranda's stuff, and then we find out that Miranda Streep's character is essentially a gatekeeper for fashion. Mm-hmm. That if she went and she looked at this designer's work and she didn't like it, so now he has to do it all over again. And they tell Anne Hathaway's character is like, look, if she doesn't put it in the magazine, nobody sees it. Mm-hmm. So his work doesn't get out there. And you realize, oh, wow, she really is. She's not just a bitch. She actually does have a lot of power in the fashion industry. Mm-hmm. She decides what goes in her magazine, and then people see what's in the magazine, and they go out and buy it.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a big
And if
pull.
it's not in that magazine, they're not going to buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people will just buy what's at Walmart, but we're talking about high fashion stuff.
That's based off of... Well, they're talking about people that are buying high fashion.
Yeah, I know.
And also, like she said earlier, it trickles down. Even in your bargain bin, everything is curated by those people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even my janitor pants and my graphic t-shirts.
Janitor pants. And then she is finally tasked with the
delivering the book.
Well, actually, I think the reason she goes and meets this guy is oh no, that's later. So she finally gets the book and she has to deliver it. And Emily is very descriptive, but not in the best way. So she tells her, so you're going to pick up her dry cleaning and you're going to bring it and you're going to put it in the downstairs closet in front of the stairs. And then you're going to take the book and you're going to put it on the table with the flowers. And Anne Hathaway goes inside. She walks into the front door and there are two closets in front of the stairs.
Right, yeah.
And she hears, it's the one on the left. And she looks up at the stairs. She's told explicitly.
And this is a huge, 5-story house in Manhattan, too.
Yeah. She's told explicitly, do not go anywhere in the house. Stay where you're, stay in the foyer and then leave. Be invisible. Don't talk to anyone. Don't talk to the girls. You're invisible. So the fact that the girls are talking to her, they knew she was coming. They knew the book was coming.
Yeah.
And so they say, the closet on the left. And she goes, thank you. And they go, where does the book go? And she goes, the girls go, you can bring it up to us. And she goes, no, I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, but it's also funny. These girls, they really nail it because they're looking and smiling at each other.
Yeah.
We're being mischievous. They really sell it.
Yeah.
They're only in this movie for a minute and they do a good job, I think.
Yeah. And then, so she's like, I can't do that. I'm supposed to put it on one of the tables. And then they say, Emily sometimes brings it upstairs. And she goes, oh, okay. So Anne Hathaway starts walking up the stairs and she gets to one of the floors. I'm guessing the second floor of the house. And Meryl Streep and her husband are having an argument.
Yeah. And he's saying, I waited at the restaurant for you and everybody was looking at me and they know that I'm waiting on you again.
Yeah. And he's always waiting on her. That's what his his statement was that he was always waiting on her.
Yeah. So in this very small moment, you find out like she doesn't have a good marriage. Her husband is extremely fed up with her bullshit. And then she,
I don't know if it's bullshit.
no, I just mean like marital bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like telling someone you're going to meet them somewhere for dinner and then being like, no work.
Yeah.
You know, that's real. I don't care who you are. That's a shitty thing to do.
Also, the other thing is like, I mean, but like you also like, they got together after he knew what she was.
Still, doesn't matter.
Mm.
If I did that to you, you wouldn't be upset?
Yeah. Yeah.
It shouldn't matter what someone's spouse's job is. Unless they're like, it was literally an emergency. Mm-hmm. But you just were too busy to care. But anyway, Meryl Streep sees her out of the corner of her eye and doesn't say anything. She just stares at her. And it's very scary. It's scarier than any horror movie I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she stares at her and she just says, the twins said, and she puts the book on the stairs and walks down the steps. And she thinks she's going to be fired the next day.
Right. But she is not.
Yeah. She goes into work and she goes, what were you thinking? And she was like, well, the twins told, and she was like, it doesn't matter. I need a copy of the Harry Potter book that, and she goes, oh, the one that just came out. And she's like, no, the one that hasn't been printed yet.
The transcript.
And I need them by like 3:00 because my girls are going on a train to meet their grandma.
Yeah. And they need reading material for the way there.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes on this crazy wild goose chase to try to track down a transcript for the new Harry Potter book. Do you remember which one was coming out at that time?
I have no idea.
Neither do I. I've never been into Harry Potter. But she can't. But she tries calling her friend, what was this, Christian?
Yeah, Christian, the
fashion
writer. She tries calling him and says like, hey, do you know anyone that could get me that book? And he goes, I don't know about that. That seems like that would be really hard. I think you're kind of out of luck. And so she's trying to figure out how to get this. She's calling publishers and things like that. And she calls her boyfriend. She's like, I'm not going to be able to get this. I'm going to get fired. So I might as well just quit. And her boyfriend's like, yeah, do it. Just quit. And I was like, you are very unsupportive.
Well, he knows that job is eating her alive.
Yeah, it is. And also changing her. Yeah.
But then the Christian, he comes through and he gets a copy of it somehow. Mm-hmm. And then this is another really cool moment that I like. She shows up at her office with it and she's like, well, you got the book, but it doesn't do me
it doesn't do me any good.
It doesn't do the twins any good because they're the ones who need it. And she's like, well, I've already made copies of it. And
because she got the book because Christian called her back and was like, you're going to love me, because he figured out how to get, she was like, I know someone that's her publisher and he got me a transcript and I'm sending you copies now. So she made copies, sent it with her daughters, and made an extra copy for Meryl Streep's library.
Yeah. So she is starting to be able to think 2 steps ahead of Miranda, Meryl Streep's character, which shows like she's really become a master of this world and she's moving up. And as a result, she becomes like, she sort of takes Emily's job.
Yeah. Well, just before this, the next day we see Emily kind of sick. She has like a cold or something, and there's a big party that Meryl Streep has planned, and it's also
but it was like a benefit,
or something, some type of party. And Andy's boyfriend's birthday was that day, and so she was like, "Well, you can go early." And she's like, "Great, I can go get my boyfriend his birthday cake, and I can go see him." And Meryl Streep comes out and she goes, you actually need to come to the party too, because
they have to help her. She has to know everybody at the party. So she has her 2 assistants there to spot people and be like, that's such and such. Well, they are blah, blah, blah.
It's usually only the first assistant. But since Emily was sick, she said, Andy, you're coming too because I have this cesspool with me.
Right.
So Emily is tasked with learning all of these new people's names and going to this benefit during her boyfriend's birthday party.
Right. And she runs into Christian at that place again, and he's like, hey, do you want to go meet this editor for the New York Times?
But before this is like a big moment because at the party, something that Emily tells her is that I've been good luck learning all of these names because I've been working on this for months, learning all of these people and their names so that I can tell her, because she doesn't want to. She hand invites everyone. She wants to make sure she actually knows who's there and like their names, and make sure she greets them with their names. Because I mean, when you know a lot of people, I mean, I get it because in theater, like there's so many people, and they're like, "Oh, it's this person." Oh, you
get it, Aaron?
I mean, yeah. People say, "Oh, this person." I'm like, "Oh, who are they?" And they're like, "Oh, they did this." I know,
Aaron. I get it about how high powered you are in the high school theater world.
Oh my gosh, I'm not high powered, but I forget a lot of people's names.
You meet all these people, and
I do.
All these important people, and you need an assistant to help you remember who they are.
I don't need an assistant. Anyways, so this person's coming up to Meryl Streep, and Emily cannot remember their name. She's sick. She's like stuffy nose, and she cannot remember their name. And just before he and his wife get there, Andy steps up and says, "It's this person, this person, this person," and they da 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 da. And so this is like Andy has saved this experience and showed that she can do her part and do a better part than Emily can.
Yep. So she's really set herself up to sort of take Emily's job because unintentionally because she's showed her up pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And then she runs into Christian again, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go meet this New York Magazine editor?" And she's like, "No, I got to go see my boyfriend for his birthday." So
yeah, she turns out a really great opportunity for her stuff to be seen. But she turns it down for him. And I get she missed a big part of his birthday party for this work thing.
But it's showing like, not only is she forgetting about, her boyfriend and her friends and her normal life, she's also just doesn't have time for her journalism or to actually go after the thing that she's been wanting all this time, the thing that she turned down Stanford for, right? So she's becoming more, what's the word? Entrenched, like enmeshed with Meryl Streep, because they're not friends.
Yeah,
like Meryl Streep doesn't like her. She doesn't like anybody. She's just becoming enmeshed into this world and being forced to be a part of it.
Yeah, I didn't see it as that, but when you explained it, that was interesting. Because initially I was like, oh, God, her boyfriend is so unsupportive, and like she turned down a fantastic opportunity so that she could get home earlier to see you, and you're still mad. Which I get that, I get that it was his birthday and that she should have been there. But also she had an opportunity and she turned it down for him.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that necessarily.
Yeah.
He just knows that she missed his birthday.
Mm-hmm. So
then Meryl Streep decides that she wants Anne Hathaway to be her primary assistant, I guess.
During Paris.
During this huge Paris thing.
Which Emily has been prepping for a long, long time. She's been starving herself so that she can be the smallest she possibly can be so that she can get all these clothes. And she's super excited about it.
Yeah, but then she gives the opportunity to Anne Hathaway. And not only that, she says, you have to fire Emily. And then
you have to tell Emily that you're going to be going instead.
Yeah, she's essentially firing her, though.
No, because she still works there.
No, okay. I thought
maybe
she was
demoted.
But then she also threatens, like, look, if you don't do this, I know all the other publishers in New York, so I'll also ruin your chance. So this is getting this is the point in the movie where you're like, oh my God, how is Anne Hathaway going to get out of this? Because the whole movie, you're like, look, she's just in the wrong place for her.
Yeah.
But she keeps getting more and more entrenched. And that, when Meryl Streep says that, you're like, no, it's over for her. She's done. Like, you don't see any other way to get out of this.
Yeah. Also, in the previous scene, like when she's fighting with her boyfriend, they break up. And so she's like, they're not together anymore. And she's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go to Paris. And she tells Emily, Emily, actually, before that, Emily gets in a car accident. She gets hit by a car on her way because she was picking up scarves like Anne Hathaway was at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, right. That's an interesting connection. I didn't notice.
And you see these scarves float in the air because she gets hit by this car. And then she goes into the hospital. And then that's when Andy tells her, like, hey, heads up, you can't go to Paris because I have to go.
Yeah. And then they go to Paris. Mm-hmm. And I have in here falafel restaurant.
I don't know about that.
There was something in there about like going to a falafel restaurant. Like a falafel, you can't have a whole restaurant just for falafel. It's like a side. It's like, well, I guess there are some places that have just fries.
Yeah. So she goes to Paris and she is bringing the book to her hotel, to Miranda's hotel room. And she's not expecting to see Miranda.
No, but Miranda's in there and she looks upset. And at first you think like, oh, she's mad at Andy because Andy probably screwed something up. Mm-hmm. But you find out that she's been served divorce papers. For
another time. Because she's had several husbands.
Yeah, this is like her third marriage. And it's ending again. But she still is like, yeah, this is, my marriage is just a casualty of what I do. It's just, it's like a drug addict who's still justifying like using drugs, even though it's ruining their life. Mm-hmm. You know, like, oh, I need it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm better with it or something like that. But it's very sad. And like, this is the first time you feel any sort of sympathy for Meryl Streep's character. And she's such a great actor, she pulls it off. And you actually do feel bad for her, even though she's been abusing everybody this whole time.
Yeah. But
they don't stay on that long before she's right back to talking about fashion and the book and all that junk.
Mm-hmm. And then we go and see her partner, the guy that was looking through stuff and helping Andy get like changed and
Stanley Tucci.
Yeah. She goes to his room and she's like, oh, we're going to celebrate. And he goes, we're going to celebrate. And she goes, what are we celebrating? And he goes, my promotion. So he is expecting to be.
He's going to work directly with a designer.
Yeah.
And he's going to have input about what the fashion is, I guess.
That's going to be going in the magazines.
Okay.
And so they're super excited. And they go to this party and she sees the journalist guy again.
Right.
And they have this romantic night in Paris.
And they kiss too, right?
And they do it.
Oh,
she
that's
stays
right.
the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go to the Bone Zone. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the next morning, he says that he's going to be in charge of like some fashion thing. I forget.
Yeah. She sees an image of the magazine, but it's not the actual cover. It's a different cover. And she goes, "What is this?" And he says, "Well, that's what."
Oh, right, because they're going to force Miranda out.
Yeah, that's what this lady's going to do with the magazine cover when she's the head and when they fire Miranda. Which is, it's the person that they're going to put into this place, Miranda hates.
Yeah, she is it's for the same magazine, but it's for the European version. And she is the editor of that European magazine. But they're going to give the European magazine editor Miranda's job.
Yeah.
So Anne Hathaway is like, well, I got to warn her, which you as a viewer go like, who cares? She's been mean to you this whole time. Maybe you'll get a boss who's easier to deal with. But that's the way I felt about it. I don't know why she tried to warn her, but she does.
Yeah, you could tell that like she's been looking up to her. And I think Andy thinks that she's made her a better version of herself, even though she isn't.
Maybe.
So she goes to her room, or she tries calling her, but she doesn't answer. She goes to her hotel room and is like beating on the door. And she's like, "I need to talk to you, Miranda." And Miranda's boss, the person that runs the publishing company for that magazine, is in the room. So she goes to Miranda's hotel room, and Miranda's boss, the lead guy on the
he owns the magazine.
Yeah, he owns the magazine. She's having a conversation with him, and it looks like they're like seeing each other. That's what I thought. I was like, ooh. But not good. That's creepy.
Real rebound, Miranda.
Yeah. So she's like, I can't talk to you right now. I'm busy. And she kicks her out, and they then later on are going downstairs because they're having the ceremony where they're talking about plans for the magazine. And
Anne Hathaway sits down next to Stanley Tucci.
Well, they're walking in the hall, and then that's when she actually tells her, like, "Hey, like they're gonna kick you out, like they're gonna get rid of you in this company." And Miranda kind of like brushes it off. And they have this meeting, and Miranda announces that the person that's going to be partnering with the designer is actually her competing editor. So the woman that was going to take over.
Yeah. So somehow Miranda negotiated with the owner of the magazine to have her work with the fashion designer, and Stanley Tucci, who was going to work with this fashion designer, basically takes a bullet for her.
Yeah.
Right. He's a casualty of war. And Anne Hathaway is like, "Well, what happened?" And he's like, "I took a bullet for her, and she'll repay me at some point." And then Anne Hathaway's like, "What if she doesn't?" And
he goes, "Well, that's how it works."
Yeah. And then later,
I hope she does.
Yeah. Later, they're in the car together, Miranda and Andy. And she's like, "How could you do that to him after he was so loyal to you for so many years? Like, you ruined his dream." And she's like, "Well, that's what you did to Emily." And
yeah. And Anne Hathaway Andy kind of realizes, like, "I didn't do that. I did that." Like, at first she thinks, "I didn't do that." And then she thinks back on it, and she did do that to Emily.
Yeah, because she could have said no.
Yeah. She could have said no easily. Mm-hmm. But it advanced her career.
Yeah. The career that she didn't want in the first place, that she has now become entrenched in for some reason.
Yeah. But she then tells Miranda, she's like, "Why would you do that? Like, nobody wants, who would want that?" And Meryl Streep has the like famous line, she goes, Don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this. And Andrea goes, you know what? I don't want this. And she chooses herself over all of this. So being part of this magazine and all of the perks of it and all of the downfalls of it, she says, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. She saw it happen outside of herself. Like when she was dealing with Emily, she didn't realize it because she was wrapped up in it. But then when she saw Stanley Tucci go down that way, she's like, no, that's not cool. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be this. Yeah. And she takes her cell phone and she throws it in the fountain, which is an homage to Dirty Harry when he throws his police badge in that pond at the end of Dirty Harry.
Okay, I don't know that movie.
I don't know if it's homage, but I liked it.
Okay.
That's what I thought of. It's a Clint Eastwood. Also,
Miranda's calling her. Like, so she gets out of the car and Miranda's like calling her because she's like, where is she at? And she sees her calling and she throws it in the fountain. So it's not even just like, oh, let me throw my phone away so she can't call me. She's like, she's actively calling me. I'm getting rid of this now.
Yeah. And then she tells her boyfriend that he was right the whole time and that she was losing herself in this whole thing. And she, there's like a montage of her, going and looking for work. And,
well, she goes to a job. She's like, I have a job interview today.
Okay.
And,
yeah, there wasn't a montage. She just goes to an interview.
In the interview, he goes, oh, well, it's great. And he goes, I heard from, Miranda, Priestley. And she goes, oh, what did she say? And he goes, something along the lines of like a very passive aggressive, like she said, I remember this. She says, she's the worst assistant I've ever had. And they show Anne Hathaway be like, oh, great. She's ruining my reputation. And then she goes, and you would be an idiot. Yeah. You would be an idiot not to hire her. Yeah. So a very passive aggressive, good reference.
But it's in the voice of Miranda, but it's also kind of like that weird backhanded thing of like, yeah, she's a terrible assistant, but she has moxie and she has what it takes.
Yeah.
To stand up for herself and for others and all that.
Yeah.
And I think what it was, because I was thinking about this for a minute while I was taking medication. But I think what it was at the beginning, Meryl Streep said in the beginning when she first hired her, she's like, I see a future me in this person. Like she's willing to do whatever it takes to get what she wants.
Yeah. And she tells her at the end in the car, she's like, one of the reasons I picked you is because I saw myself in you. Yeah. And I still see it.
Oh, she did say that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe that's why I think that. But she also has a weird respect for her at the end. She sees her getting into a car on the street and Andy waves to her and she just looks at her for a second and gets in the car.
Yeah. But then in the car, you see her smile.
Yeah.
But
she can't take off that mask, And, yeah. But I don't know. It was, man, I don't know how to describe what I think, but.
Well,
it was a really good ending. Maybe it's something, you feel it, but maybe you can't verbalize it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole movie.
Yep.
So what I want to hear is your no bullshit assessment.
My no bullshit assessment is this movie's great. I wish I had not fallen asleep back in 2008 when streaming was new. It's a super concise story. It takes place over a few months, but you don't ever really get that sense. It's really snappy. The dialogue is fantastic. You're hanging on every word. Performances are great. It's relatable if you are someone who's ever had a job.
Yeah. Or a tough job or a job that you feel like pulls you away from
any kind of job.
Any job.
I would say if you've had any job ever, this movie is relatable and you should watch it. You don't have to know about fashion. It'll make you think you know about fashion when you're done watching it, but you don't. It's just really good and it's really relatable.
Joey, do you know about fashion?
And there
now?
was no, I don't know anything.
Oh, I thought you were going to say yeah, I do now.
I know a ton now. I know there's magazines and sweaters and high heels. What was I saying? Yeah, it's really relatable.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people like this movie is like you see yourself in this movie. Like I see myself in Anne Hathaway's shoes of like sometimes I feel like I am forced to choose my job over other things. And like it makes me reflect like I don't want to be like that. So your job is important, but it's not that important.
No, nobody's job is that important.
Yeah. So it makes you think and it makes you reflect on yourself. Like some people may be Miranda Priestley's and be like, oh, she was right about everything. I mean, I hope that's not what they got away from it, but at least think about like, hey, you know what? Sometimes I am a Miranda, and because like she is the extreme of.
You know what
Andy.
I think it is Miranda sacrificed everything to be what she is, and then at the end she sees that Anne Hathaway is like, no, I'm not going to sacrifice 3 marriages and not have any friends and have everybody hate me behind my back, and she respects her for it.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah. So you can find yourself in any part of this movie. So definitely watch it. You can reflect on yourself and maybe it'll make you feel bad. Maybe it'll make you feel better. Mm-hmm. But it makes you think, which I love.
Yeah. All right. So we went a little long today.
Well, there was a long break in there. But okay.
It's not that long. So we're not going to play a game today. But what movie are we going to be watching next time?
Next time we'll be watching The Blues Brothers.
Yeah, the Blues Brothers. This is actually going to be our year anniversary from when we started the podcast.
And why are we watching The Blues Brothers for our year anniversary?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought there was a reason that you chose that.
I think it was because it's kind of a musical.
Oh.
There's a lot of musical numbers in it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I wanted to do it for our anniversary.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's what we're doing for our anniversary show. So that's it for You Haven't Seen It. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, everybody.